All right, he says we are live. Welcome to another live event on the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today we're diving into Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders. Today we're really only going to focus in on a 4-minute snippet of Richard Allen's original interview, and we're just going to listen to him. We're going to listen to his account of what he did that day. And we're going to break it down. So just hang tight. We'll give everybody an opportunity to kind of enter into the live stream. If you're in here now, go ahead and say something in the chat. Let me know how my audio is. I've been working on the Guys Down the Hill audio that Libby captured. I actually used the original video that was released, and that's edited the audio. That's my source. So I was able to clean it up pretty good. We're going to listen to it. I'm going to give you my opinions, and then I'm going to go ahead and hear what you guys have to say about it. What's up, She Warrior? Timmy, what up? Looks like they fixed the names. Maybe people were complaining about it. Yeah, that shit was confusing. It helps with trolls, because you can tell when somebody recreates an account right away. That's what they do. They come and they troll, they get blocked, they go recreate a new account, add like a digit or change the name just slightly. It takes like 15 minutes and then they're back. Shit, not even 15 minutes. Christine, welcome. So we're going to talk a little bit about basically Richard Allen's accounts of what happened. I think it's important that we focus in on that. Really, this is the only documented time Richard Allen speaks on the matter. He kind of goes silent after this. Of course, we're not going to focus on the entire interview. We just don't have that kind of time. We'll do it piece by piece. Tambi, what up? Hex, how you doing? The only doubt I have about this case is others' involvement. Richard Allen is definitely bridge guy. What makes you say he's definitely? That's a really strong word. All I know is it's most likely he's the bridge guy, right? With the timeline, the evidence that they have, points right at him. Do I know by looking at the video, like, hey, that's Richard Allen? No. But when I look at it, I'm just assuming, like, hey, that's probably Richard Allen. With all of the evidence I'm looking at with this video, yeah, that's probably Richard Allen in there. Dang, She Warrior. You better take it easy. Are you ready? Don't be jumping the gun. Take it slow. All right, let's do this. Pull this up real quick. Oh, that's loud. That's a bit loud for my ears. Let me turn this down before I share it. What's up, J Ray? Probably beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, I don't think he was convicted because of that video, right? He was convicted because of the bullet. Come on now, apples and oranges, J Ray. We had this talk. According to the court records, they claim to prove it was him on the video and voice. That's ridiculous. See, this is the kind of shit that the prosecution would push forward to combat all of the nonsense that was coming from Richard Allen's defense team. If they're getting hit with the pile of shit, they got to start flinging their own. Because if they don't, before too long, nobody's even going to be able to see that strong tool mark evidence that they're holding on to. Right? That was the only difference with Richard Allen. The only difference between his search warrant and dozens of others was that it matched. What's up, Eli? American Girl reacts. Who's the third girl? The younger sister. Here, let me put it back up on the screen here. So the two on the bottom right are sisters, older, younger. And the girl in the back with the camera is Bree. Those are the three girls. So Richard Allen, thank goodness, right? Thank goodness he took the time to go into such detail about where he ran into the girls, what they look like, exactly what part of the trail he ran into them at, where exactly did you park? So he's going to clear all those things up for us right now. All right. Well, you take it easy. Don't go playing tackle football. He was convicted because of the confessions plus circumstantial evidence. Well, truth is he was convicted. Who knows why? I mean, there's no such thing as justice. I haven't seen it. Watching two professional teams of con artists do their best to manipulate a group of random 12. Yeesh. Talk about a pagan ritual. Richard Allen would have walked if he didn't confess. Doubtful. I mean, that's your opinion. I disagree with it. You might be right, though. American says, gotcha. You got me then. You got me. I don't know how you got me, but you got me. Richard Allen was one of the best witnesses against himself. Absolutely. I had a little chuckle about it a minute ago. No way he walks. They had him without confessions. Timeline, bullet, matches, lying to his wife, where he parked, etc. Yeah, and also him not being able to defend himself, right? Everybody that was with him the day he committed the murders, they didn't testify. He had no help. I was surprised to see his sister and his daughter get on the stand. But obviously they had an agreement that they wouldn't talk about anything other than the molestation and things like that. Because if you ask them a question that they're not going to answer, they'll just plead the fifth. They're no good to anybody. But that's it. And I think that was huge for Richard Allen, for his sister and his daughter to get up there. But what the whole point of that was so the prosecution could put the focus on that. They wanted the defense to exhaust all of their resources fighting that, making Richard Allen look like, he molested his sisters and all of that. I don't know. I feel bad for Richard Allen either way. I know that he had something to do with this, but he didn't get very good representation. But on the other side of that coin, I don't see how you could defend Richard Allen. It's like an uphill battle. It's like everything that they did is all you could do to try to defend him. And it worked, right? It worked on a lot of people. They're still like confused and, mucked up the water. So I think we'll talk a little bit about Richard Allen's timeline, his connection to Dave McCain. Dave McCain testified he was at the trials from 2 to 4. We have it. We have the transcripts. But for whatever reason, the murder sheet put in their book from 3 to 4. But Dave McCain testified that he was there at 2. What's up with that? You know what I'm saying? Consistency. That's all we try to keep is an even keel. Is that too much to ask? Circumstantial evidence isn't concrete evidence. It's hard case to try. No, they had physical evidence. They had the bullet, the tool mark. The tool mark is the reason that they arrested him to begin with. Right? When Jerry Holman said, I know you had something to do with this and I'm going to fucking prove it. Because really, he had already proved it. But what he meant was he's going to prove it in court. Like, he was already convinced. He's like, I have all the proof I need to know that you had something to do with this, Rick. And I'm going to go prove it to a court and a jury and a judge and to the world. Yeah. You don't keep it. If you don't have any consistency, you can't expect anybody to take you seriously. And that it goes for me too, right? If I'm just spewing out my bias and hoping that you feed my ego, that's not going to do anybody any good. Please agree with me, please. I mean, does that serve? Kathy Shank knew if they found the guy who saw the females at Freedom Bridge, they found Bridge Guy. Absolutely. And remember, nobody really knew that at the beginning, right? They have to piece the investigation together. That's right, sees through. They have to piece it all together. That takes weeks. And the reason that they said the old Bridge Guy was no longer a suspect was because that was Dave McCain, right? Daniel Pearson came out and said that. Yeah, that's who I saw. Now I know it was Dave McCain. And that's why he had that stupid little hat on. So I don't know. Why wasn't he ever a suspect? Everybody knew that he was there. He matched the description of the Bridge Guy. I mean, were they actually looking at Dave maybe, perhaps? Or is that who they were protecting? Because, I mean, Richard Allen won't shut the hell up about Dave McCain during his interview. And he does that whole nervous fidgeting shit when he starts talking, that word salad. So we will talk about that a little bit. Most cases are not slam dunk. Too many people watching CSI. Yeah, very few cases even involve DNA that's used, as evidence against a killer. Those are probably just one of the key ingredients that makes a case high profile. So those are the ones that you kind of remember. More publicized. Yeah, there you go, Eli. Yeah, I'm not saying they hurt. Don't get me wrong. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Could have beat the case with a good lawyer. Yeah, with a good lawyer. A good lawyer, man. I don't know. Like, people talk about conspiracies. You want to talk about a real conspiracy, Brad and Andy would have been involved. They would have been helping scoot things along, or sheepdog it, as I like to call it. Not stopping certain things, like, oh, we missed that, and then making sure to stop others. But of course, that's a conspiracy theory in itself. The bullet evidence would easily explain if Richard Allen just said he was in the area. It wasn't used in the case. Nope. You want to know why Richard Allen didn't do that? Because that means that he was familiar. Let's say he's like, yeah, I go out there. I go fishing right there. And at night, I bring my gun. I could have easily have dropped it. That still ties him to the crime scene. As the guilty person, like you as an intelligent person, you're not guilty. Like, to you, that makes sense. Hey, it's easy for me to explain this. Now what? Now what do you have to say? Leggett. But all that goes against his narrative that he's trying to put to the public. He doesn't want anything to do with that crime scene. So if he admits, yeah, here, right? Where nobody else really knows about. The girls are found. They couldn't even find them. Oh, but this is a special place for you, right? That still makes him look guilty. In his mind. All right, so we're going to break this down piece by piece here.
A lot. As time goes on,
Can you guys hear that?
it's like I said, I think I was there probably around noon. It could have been a little before noon or a little after noon.
Okay. So right there, Richard Allen never really says, "Hey, I was there at noon or a little after noon." He begins with probably. I don't even know, right? I'm not sure.
I think I was there probably
I think.
around noon. It could have been a little before noon or a little after noon. Walked down, back an hour, so probably.
He said a walk down and back, probably an hour or so. Remember, the killer was with Abby and Libby for an hour or so. So I thought that was interesting.
1:30, 1:45, depending on exactly what time it was that I got there that day.
1:30, 1:45. He's saying he left. I showed up there around 12, and I was out of there around 1:30, 1:45. So if he got there at 12 and left at 1:40, 1:45, the killer was with Abby and Libby for an hour and 45 minutes. Sometimes I wonder if the truth is even hiding somewhere in the lies. What do you guys think about that?
I just remember walking down the trail, and I had told him that when I was approaching the trailhead, I guess is what I'd call it.
Okay, so he admits here already that he didn't park at the parking area. We're going to hear that in just a few. He admits it. I didn't. That's how he says. That's how I know I didn't park here. And also, right here, he's admitting to running into these three girls at the trailhead. That's near Freedom Bridge. That's exactly where the three girls testified to running into the bridge guy. Now, the only way this case ever gets turned over is if those three girls recant what they said. Like, hey, we were pressured to lie, or I got together with the girl. We said, hey, we agreed with one of the other girls, and now she's saying she doesn't remember and that she was being pressured or paid or whatever. So typically a case like this to be returned where you don't have, Richard Allen's not even fighting for himself. You would have to have a witness recant their testimony. That's really the only hope for Richard Allen. Because like you said, the bullet could be explained. Like, hey, I can't believe it. I didn't want to admit that I was near the crime scene. Right? I was afraid to say, yeah, I was down there, because then you guys would really pin it on me. So yeah, you're right. You could always kind of switch that around. Noon, yet never saw anyone who was on the trail at that time. Left at 1:30. He said 1:30 or 1:45. So he should have been walking out with the Freedom Bridge group, yet he saw nobody. Yeah, he would have been leaving with the girls. So I don't understand how can you explain this away? Like, let's play devil's advocate. I hear other people say, well, there was a group of these other three girls, right? God forbid Richard Allen's defense team brings that up during trial. Never was. Nobody's been able to prove it. No three girls have come forward and said, hey, we were there. And I think we did see Richard Allen.
There was three girls walking off the trail, and I just remember it looking like one of them was probably watching, not babysitting, but watching the other two because they looked a little younger. And they looked very similar. I don't know if they were sisters or whatever, but the other one didn't necessarily. But
okay, so he said the two of them look like sisters. One looked older, like she was watching the two other, but really she was, she was just really tall. And the girl in the photo is her sister. So Richard Allen is describing these three girls right here. These same three girls testified in court that they don't know if Richard Allen is the bridge guy. They have no clue. Like, hey, we don't know if that's Richard Allen or not. All we know is that the guy we ran into at 1:30 near the trailhead is the same guy in Liberty's video. Now, how do you explain this? You have Richard Allen sitting right here in this video telling us how he ran into these three. All he's doing is saying it was when I left. Right? I left when I saw those girls at the trailhead. I wasn't entering the trail, I was leaving. That's not what they said. Why would they lie?
I remember seeing them walking off the trailhead. Um,
He's walking on, they're walking off.
I walked down, like I said, I look at the water, I walked back, and I said, somebody could have walked behind me, I guess, but I said on that.
And what did he say there? He said, I guess somebody could have been walking behind me.
Like I said, I look at the water, I walk back, and I said, but I remember seeing them walking off the trailhead, and I didn't really see anybody.
I didn't really see anybody. And really, he shouldn't have, other than Betsy Blair, Abby, and Libby. Like, he should have seen the girls.
I walked down, like I said, I look at the water, I walk back, and I said, somebody could have walked behind me, I guess, but
Okay, he said somebody could have been walking behind me, I guess. Why do you think he said that? I think it's because he was walking behind Betsy Blair, is why he said that. He's like, well, I was walking behind Betsy Blair, is what he thought in his head. Oh, somebody could have been behind me that I didn't notice. Interesting.
I sit on that bench that overlooks the creek bed and all that.
Okay, he keeps talking about this bench. Now, that's the bench when you park at the Mears parking lot and you walk down a short trail directly towards the creek. There's another trail that veers off down another hill there. And Richard Allen even refers to it as going down that hill. Well, at one point, that bench overlooked a little shack down there. Richard Allen actually helped tear down that shack along with the McCains. So you guys don't find it strange that Richard Allen worked with the McCains, their foundation, to get Walmart to donate to their the foundation that they started? Helped him tear down the corn crib that was on his old property. Like, that's his heritage. You're telling me that Richard Allen and Dave McCain didn't get acquainted during that process? And then you have Dave McCain at the trails from 2 to 4. You have Richard Allen on the trails from 1 to 4. And then you have Brad Weber pulling up right at the time the girls are being murdered. Like, what's really going on?
And I remember telling him when I left, I remember there being, I think there was 2 vehicles down there on that farmer's entrance that I told you about. And that's
okay, 2 vehicles, a van and a sedan. Well, guess who had, or excuse me, an SUV and a sedan. Guess who drove an SUV? Betsy Blair, right? And she parked at the Mears lot. Guess who drove the car? Kelsey. She was on the phone talking to her boyfriend at that very moment. Why did he say maybe somebody could have been walking behind me? Because he followed Betsy Blair out. They both passed the girls. They both passed Abby and Libby. Betsy Blair doesn't see Richard Allen behind her. He keeps some distance. She gets in her car. hangs out for a little while, thinks she was doing something on her phone, her Fitbit. I'm not quite sure. Richard Allen comes, sits down on the bench. Abby and Libby continue to walk towards the high bridge. Richard Allen is observing, sitting on the bench, turned around, looking at Kelsey and Betsy Blair, both parked together for a short period of time, like a minute or two. And he's describing that right here in the interview.
I think there was 2 vehicles down there on that farmer's entrance that I told you about. Mm-hmm. And that's why I know I didn't park there, because...
That's how I know I didn't park there. So you shouldn't be coming from anywhere over there and passing in front of the Hoosier Harvest Store, right? People that support Richard Allen, they try to throw out all the evidence against him. Right here, he makes it clear as day. That's how I know I didn't park there, because I was stalking people right there, right? It was at that point that I knew that I was alone with 2 young kids. That's how I know. That's what he's really thinking.
Down there on that farmer's entrance that I told you about. Mm-hmm. And that's why I know I didn't park there, because obviously I wouldn't recall seeing cars there if I parked there.
The farmer's entrance, are we still talking about this area here, or is there some other location here?
There's a pull-in, like right next to the trail is all I can tell you. There's a pull-in right next to the trail, and a trail actually leads up to the trail.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this is kind of what Hex was saying early on. Good to see you, Goat Dog. You know, where he could have just kind of changed his story to fit the evidence, right? And then there's no case. Sees Through says he changed his time because he knew that video had a timestamp. He never knew about the video when he spoke to Doolin. Exactly. So he could have easily said, well, I parked at the Mears lot and I left at about 126, 127. And I walked the trails, and then I even went down and did a little bit of target shooting. Well, nobody heard any firearms. Oh, well, I mean, I did. I shot a couple rounds off out there. I don't know if anybody heard it or not, but I did. And then I walked back up, and then I left. Right? No case against Richard Allen. Would explain the bullet, would explain the Hoosier Harvest Store video. But you have to remember, he's trying to keep all his ducks in a row. He's got all this crazy, all these crazy delusions and paranoia going through his head. He doesn't go to prison, trying to get this narrative straight. But not only that, he has a different narrative for his wife. He has a different narrative for Dan Doolin, and he has a different narrative for these guys. You should see the look on his face when Tony Leggett walked in the room. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why is there 2 of you? What do you need him for? Tranquilo. I'm just along for the ride. See, I ain't got nothing on me.
Hard to see from here, but I think this is what's called the old Mears.
Probably. There was a farmhouse across from it, is all I knew. Right. And it was like I guess it looked like where you take farm equipment in and out or something, but okay. I know at one point they flagged it that it said no parking, so we didn't park there for a period of time. But
did you ever park there before when you went?
Yeah.
A lot of times you did? Okay.
I mean, we used to when it wasn't marked. Mm-hmm. We did a cleanup down there one time I brought a bunch of Walmart people, kind of a community engagement thing. We did a cleanup down there. It's the year that they tore down. We tore down that, if you go down, not the High Bridge way, but that one where I sit on the bench.
That one I sit on the bench. He's almost as if they're inside of his head with, inside of his fantasy. You know the bench right there? You guys see it, don't you? No, that's just you and your mind, Richard. You know that bench?
Not the High Bridge way, but that one where I sit on the bench.
That one where I sit on the bench.
About. If you go down a hill, there used to be a little shed, a little shack down there, and they tore that, and that's talking about. If you go down a hill, there used to be a little shed, that one where I sit on the bench. Yeah, I was talking about. If you go down a hill, there used to be a little shed, a little shack.
So you go down the hill to get to the shack. What are the odds of that? So he's sitting on this bench. At one point, it overlooked the shack. And then he tore it down with the McCains. The only other person that fits into the murderous timeline is Dave McCain. Why is nobody talking about this? Right? Why is there a tip being marked cleared? Like, who has their finger on the scale in Delphi? How does the man that shows up at 2, leaving at 4, looking like the old bridge guy sketch down to a T, even the stupid little hat, never being mentioned, nobody talked about, nobody even suggests any involvement? Was there a search warrant? Was there DNA? Was there blood? Was there a polygraph test? Nope. Nobody even talks about it. It's the great unknown in the case is Dave McCain. We're not going to talk about that. Sleuth, do you think there is a chance he tried to fire his weapon at the crime scene and had a stoppage due to crossing the creek with it? I think it's possible. Like everybody says, well, they fired Richard Allen's gun during their test to make it match. Well, do you understand how much more unlikely it would match to do that? Imagine the odds, right? That these tool marks match just because you fired the gun. Like, that's crazy. If you know anything about tool marks, that would make it even more difficult. But the truth is, we don't even know what Richard Allen did. We don't know. Did he try to fire it? Did he re-rack it? Like, what was going on? So how are you supposed to compare it to what he did when you don't even know really what he did? But that's not how tool marks work. If you find a match, you got a match. I don't care how you get it. It's very similar to a thumbprint. You know, how much ink did you clean off your thumb? You know, was it smudged? Still the same thumbprint. Yes, John Douglas said they're looking for somebody very familiar. And the way that he says guys, that means that he's familiar with young girls, like a coach. And I think he was about to say parent. They cut him off. But that's what he means, like somebody that might have kids. Right? He would call his wife and daughter guys. Hey, guys. Hey, guys, over here. What are you guys up to? Katie Owens, I like how the PD played dumb about knowing the trails. And I guess, I never noticed before how many times he says we. Goat Dog says Dave McCain is the missing piece. I mean, how do you account for all the weirdness with the FBI and keeping Keegan Klein's name out of everything? How do you account for this whole lost tip? All of a sudden it says shows up out of nowhere. Somebody wrote cleared on it. Like how do you explain all those things? I think you might be right. I think that's the answer to those questions. Yep. And if they could pin it on Ron Logan, I mean, that's just like a cherry on top.
Down there, and they tore that, and we were there that day that we tore that down.
Okay. Now, you guys did that with Walmart. Was that the local Walmart you worked at?
Lafayette.
Lafayette,
Yeah.
okay. The one on Commerce or the one on
Commerce.
Okay, all right. So you guys came up and did that. Do you know when that was?
Oh, Lord, no. Well,
All right. So what do you guys have to say about that? We're going to listen to some audio that I've been working on. See what you guys think about this. And while we listen to this audio, tell me also what you think about the whole Dave McCain situation, why he brought him up during the interrogation. And it's almost like he was trying to hint at some kind of a scheme that they worked out together, right? Hey, if you're a manager at Walmart and you have control over these funds, why don't you bring that over here? You can work with our foundation, you can work out on the trails, and then they'll send the money to us. And maybe I'll give you some of that cash, you know? So maybe they plotted and schemed on something in the past, and they're doing it again on February 13th. But to act like they don't know each other after they tore down a piece of their own land, their history, you're telling me that Dave McCain wasn't down there for that, talking with Richard Allen, having access to his ammunition even, perhaps? Can you guys hear that? So, what that sounds like to me, you can't just picture it like it's Richard Allen sitting in an interrogation where he's trying to control his heart rate, he's trying to control his body language, he's trying to control his tone of voice. You have to be thinking that you're listening to a Richard Allen that has been drinking, right? We know that that's what happened. He probably did leave Mexico, Indiana at about 11:15. Stopped and got beer, came home in Delphi, and got fucked up. That's what he did. He got home, he got fucked up, realized, man, it's only 1:30. And this is if he's not plotting, with a group of people as part of a conspiracy. But that's probably what happened. Like, hey, my wife isn't going to be home until 5:30. I'm not going to sit around here. I'm going to go to the trails. So that would have been right around 1:20ish, 1:26, 1:30. So you have to picture a drunk, fumbling somebody who kind of maybe even made a decision that he wasn't even comfortable with, right? Like, guys, I guess we're going down the hill. Like, I'm doing something. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. So, guys, down the hill, like a little reluctant even. Guys, down the hill. Guys, down the hill. Like, right, kind of like you have a gun in your hand and you just kind of got your head down and you're drunk and you're pissed off and you're like what you're doing is wrong, guys, and just kind of fling your gun over in that direction, like, guys, get down the hill. Almost like you don't even want to be there, like you're a passenger in your own body. Guys, down the hill. Guys, down the hill. Get down the hill. Guys, down the hill. Like, get down that hill, right? Get down the hill. It's not like, hey, guys, get down that hill right now. It's kind of like, man, I'm all fucked up. I'm drunk. I'm about to make the worst decision I've ever made in my entire life and ruin the lives of everybody around me. Even destroy, an entire town. Guys, down the hill. Like, I guess this is what we're doing. It's like an impulse. He has no control over. He's made that decision. It's going to happen. And he's fucked up. Guys, down the hill. Guys, down the hill. Guys, down the hill. The girls are probably like, damn, what the fuck is going on? Like, this guy's weird. Like, what do we do? Like, this guy's obviously out of his mind. We got to do something. And he's just like a freight train. His dark passenger. Exactly. We oftentimes we try to understand, like, how can a killer do something? How did Richard Allen do this to Abby and Libby? I bet you at times Richard Allen is up at night asking himself that same question. Like, how did this happen? I truly don't believe anybody in their right mind would ever do anything like this, right? There's a recipe for it. Early childhood trauma, personality disorders, sudden stressors in somebody's lives. This was a very pivotal moment in his life where he not only was he not really a father anymore, right? His daughter had she's flew away from the nest. She flew the nest. She's out doing her own thing. It's just him and Kathy. That might have created some a change in that dynamic he wasn't ready for. And then suddenly a death, right? The closest person to Kathy was her brother, Johnny. Dies in he suffered badly in this motorcycle accident. He suffered for like 6 days, I believe. Like, it wasn't an instantaneous thing. He was in the hospital. They tried to keep him alive. It was this horrible incident. So imagine that happening to your favorite person other than your spouse, like, hey, your favorite sibling or your best friend. So she's dealing with her own demons, not realizing that if she does not keep an eye on this fucking guy, who knows what the hell could happen? Because he's been attached to her since from the hip, right? It's either the military or Kathy. Giving him the orders and keeping him in line, helping him to get through his day, right? Compartmentalize all that shit. But the very moment that she's unable to keep the reins on him, to keep her hands on the leash, so to speak, right? She's dealing with her own demons. Look what happens. What's up, Frank? At one point, he wasn't a killer, and then all of a sudden, he went too far, and he couldn't take it back. Yeah, he tried to take it back. He tried to do what is referred to as undoing. Right? He tried to just hide it. If I don't see it, it didn't happen. And there's part of him that feels like it wasn't him. Right? This drunk, mentally disturbed, upset man. Remember, he didn't want to go be with his family. And they didn't testify that he was in good spirits. He wanted to go to those trails and fucking do some damage. Whatever control he had lost, he's getting it back. And to a psychopath, honestly, this is how they do it. This is always on the table. This is always an option. And they can go and take a nap right after. And that's what Richard Allen did. He got his power back, and he went on, and his daughter got married. He went on vacations. He got his health under, he had a setback in 2019, I think, when he put his gun in his mouth. I think 2016 might have been the hospitalization. Those two might be separate incidences from my understanding. Or 2015 even, for the medical incident, and then 2019 with the gun. So, I mean, we got a loose cannon here. Obviously, something was bothering him on the 13th. When the girls saw him enter the trail, they said, man, he looked like he was having a bad day. Like, he was pissed. He might have been mad about something. Took it out on Abby and Libby. All right, guys, I'm going to play this one more time. And then we're going to hang out in the chat for about 5 minutes, and then we'll call it. Guys. Down there. 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 So no matter really what Richard Allen says, it's obvious, right, that he's lying. He showed up at around 1:30. These girls proved it. Not only did they prove it, he proved it. And while doing that, they were able to prove that he was the bridge guy. Now, was he alone? I don't know. This whole Dave McCain, Kagan Klein, lost tip, why nobody ever really talked about Dave McCain and how he looked like the sketch, right? The old guy sketch. Daniel Pearson testified that he now realizes that the person that he saw was Dave McCain. How do we ignore Richard Allen for 6.5 years, simultaneously ignoring Dave and all of his strangeness, right? All of his occult history and behavior, his talks of displaying dead animals and his mother being okay with it. How do we reconcile that part? What's going on, Karen? Carla had to have known his insistence at first that he hadn't been on the bridge, only at the trails, is what kept her going. If she didn't think too hard about it. I think that she may have been extremely suspicious early on, but after you tell your husband, go talk to the police, and then he provides proof that he spoke to law enforcement, and then you go, and then 6.5 years goes by, and everything's just fine. I mean, you begin to kind of be able to wrap yourself in that deniability, right? You're kind of clothed in it at that point. You're protected. Because consider the alternative, right? On one hand, you married a sick, sadistic killer, or this man who just happened to be there that day, kind of looks like the bridge guy, was really tripping about it, but he's been cleared. Which pill sounds easier to swallow? What's up, Robert? Shout out to North Texas in the house. Welcome, welcome. And I mean, it's very interesting to hear Richard Allen. The only time he ever does a word salad is when he's lying about something, right? They asked him about his car. Everything's yes, no, well, this, blah, small talk. As soon as they ask him about his car, boom, here comes the word salad. 8 minutes of him talking about all the vehicles he's ever had in his entire life, who drives them, who doesn't, which vehicles he crashed. Like, he gives us a history lesson on his automobile ownership that nobody asked for. But he does the same thing when he starts talking about the McCains. I find it interesting. That's all. Goat Dog, there's so many strange things surrounding this one event, from Ron Logan and his odd behavior with his cousin, the Kleins, the Odenists, the McCain brothers, and Rick Allen. Yeah, dude, it's so bizarre. But really what I think it is, Goat Dog, it's a lesson in the spin, right? The spin. You could put the spin on anything. And that's why why I think we'll never have justice with the way we have things set up. You get 12 jurors of your peer that are your peers. And then you have two different teams of attorneys just manipulate the shit out of them, exploit their ignorance in so many ways that'll spin your head. That's not justice. So all it is the spin, right? All the information about the Kleins, which is probably the most baffling part about this case, right? How are the Kleins not involved? It's just so baffling. Baffles me. Baffled. Yep. You could put the spin on it all. The Odinism with Brad Holder and the Sticks, right? What the fuck is all that? Libby's dating this guy, and the guy that she's dating, the dad is a pagan, and he likes to do things with sticks, and the girls were covered with sticks. But he has an alibi. It's all crazy. Hey, Cheeks, I don't think it's interesting in any way that there's so many events around this. Given enough time, you can nitpick anything. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Any true crime case can be speculated this way. Yeah, the spin, right? How are we going to spin it? And who are we going to target with the spin? It's a designed spin with the target in mind. That's how I see the Richard Allen Support Club. Right? The atheist preacher. The atheist preacher walks into church preaching the gospel, passing the collection plate around, doesn't believe in God. Right? It's a business for him. He's exploiting people's faith. Is that what they're doing with Richard Allen's case? They know he's guilty. They don't care. They're more about the spin. The atheist preacher, right? They walk into the church of Richard Allen, preaching the gospel of Richard Allen, but they don't believe in it. But they pass the collection plate around, and they don't need money. For them, it's about attention and getting off on the spin, the manipulation of it all, right? I call it West Memphising the Delphi case. The gaslight is never over. Just when you think it's over, boom, Richard Allen's free. Why? Nobody knows. Some kind of Alfred plea, I think. Wait, he's guilty and he's out? Yeah. I don't know what happened. They did some documentary on it, and everybody got gaslit. And there he is. It's crazy like that. But either way, guys, I did cancel my other live stream. We are on baby watch. I should be father of a baby boy probably by sometime tonight. So wish me luck. Keep us in your prayers, guys. Thank you so much. And don't forget about Abby and Libby and what happened to them. Don't let them be an afterthought, because could have been us. That could have been our family members. That could have been our children. It's not about Richard Allen, right? If you want to get him off, you're going to have to get these witnesses to recant their statements. You're going to have a third-party company do their own testing on the bullets to prove that it's false. You're going to have to do a whole lot of things. So think about it while you're supporting this man with all of these concrete pieces of information stacked on top of his head. Take care, guys.